So we're here with one of my favourite pioneer species. It's the pigeon pea, and not only is it an amazing pioneer, it's a nitrogen fixer as well, and the peas are edible. We often harvest the green seed pods and pop the peas in curries and stews and things like that. So what we're going to do today is, as one of our key pioneer species, learn how to propagate it. So I just grab handfuls of the seed like this. This is how I feed my chickens the seed as well. They love them. And we just wait till we can hear the seed pods rattle. So you'll hear the seeds start rattling when they're dry, and that means they're ready to harvest and ready to pop in the ground. So the beauty of the pigeon pea is you can actually place the seeds directly in the ground and they'll grow. But today I just find it easier to pop them in the nursery, raise seedlings and then plant them out, because I often find it very difficult to find tiny little seedlings in my tree rows. So I prefer to have them a little bit established and then I know where they are. So we've got a few seeds and we're ready to head off to the nursery. So here we are in the nursery and we've collected some pigeon pea, or alternatively bought a packet of seeds. So first step, if you've collected the seeds, is just to shell the seeds just like regular peas. Okay, so when I open up, I just want to make sure that they're not moldy or don't have any bugs inside. So I'll just shell them and discard the seed pods. The seed pods are great, just added to your compost. Great to add nitrogen. So just go through the bucket and seed a few of these and just continue until you've got a nice kind of, I guess just a decent sized handful. What I do is I save all of my containers. These are from, I think, a punnet of mushrooms. So any containers like this that are reasonably deep, I just save. I grab a pair of snips like this and I just do this, making sure your fingers are well clear. I just put some drainage holes in the bottom. So just depending on the size of the container, I usually aim for maybe 9 drainage holes, I guess. Just so that the water's not accumulating and then rotting your seed. So there we go. I've got some drainage holes in the bottom of the container. I now just grab I use a sharp river sand that I collect from the local creek, but it's got to be really kind of sharp sand, as in not silt that's got to form a brick, if you like. It's got to be free draining. So I've just got to mix in this bucket, and I've just mixed it with a little bit of compost. Okay, so I just keep that under this very simple table. So I grab my container, add some compost sand mix. I mean, with the pigeon pea, I'm not too fussed about compost because they're so hardy and they fix their own nitrogen, but just a little mix is nice. So I pop that there. Got my watering can, so I'll just water that in lightly. And then what I do is I grab the pigeon pea and I just scatter them across the top of this soil mix. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'll then just use a container just to grab a little bit more of the river sand compost mix and just scatter it on the top. You just want to make sure that the seeds are reasonably well buried. I'll smooth it out like that and just add a little bit more. The pigeon pea, they will come up no matter what usually, so it's not a fine art. So that's all I do. Then what I do is give them a water in. like so. And then I'll pop a label in. So usually I'll just use something like this and I'll just mark pigeon pea, sometimes where I purchased the seed for or where I harvested it from. And then I'll just put a date. So I know that if for some reason several months later, I don't have any seedlings, then I know maybe it was a bad batch of seed and I can just discard it. But the pigeon pea usually should germinate within a few weeks. So I just make sure that I pop a label in and I just put it aside and wait and see. And then what will happen, this is a mix of pigeon pea and Tephrosia. So these are both great nitrogen fixers. The Tephrosia is not edible, but you'll see here, this is what the pigeon pea looks like. So the pigeon pea, you can see, has the pointed leaf here. And when it gets to this stage, this is when you can even do it a lot sooner than this. This has probably gone a little bit far. It'll be hard to separate the roots, but I will basically, when it gets to this stage, I'll pot it up. So what you want to do is grab some of your pots. You just use this soil mix with the compost and river sand, and I'll show you how to do that now. I just pop my hands in like this, flip it upside down. You'll see this mat of roots. And I'll literally pop it in the same bucket as my, my soil mix, my compost and river sand mix. And what I do is I just gently break apart sections. Okay, so this is an example of what I do here. I've just broken one of the sections off, and you'll see here's a beautiful pigeon pea here. And they're super tough. So I just gently separate it from the others. Okay, so you'll see that. That's one of my pigeon peas. Then what I do is I usually just use the tube stock. And again, these are just from friends who are throwing them out of their garages. I just collect them as I go along. Okay, so grab one of your tube stock. I put the seedling in like that. Get the level of the root system just a little bit below the lip of the tube stock like that, and I'll just hold it in place like that. Then whilst I'm holding it in place, I'll just get my soil mix, fill it up. You want to just give it a little bit of a tap and a shake, just to remove any air pockets. And what I do is, usually I'll be sitting down to do this actually, but I'll just have a production line. And see that? I'll fill to about that point. I will then grab a tray like this, just anything you have laying around. You can also pop them in just any empty containers. So if you've just got something like that, just put them in so they don't fall over. Okay, and then I'll just go through and pot them all up, and then I'll have a whole tray of pigeon pea. Now, within a few weeks, they'll be ready to plant out in your orchard. You'll start seeing roots appearing at the bottom, and that's a good indication that they're ready to plant out in the ground. So pigeon pea, one of my favorite pioneers, super easy to propagate. So I wish you good luck with these.